Where are all of the giant trees? It's a very simple question. Why? Where? Where did they go? This is a little bit of a thought game. And as usual, it gets into the predicament that most people have. And it's that they rely on information that is absolutely faulty, bogus, for a million reasons. Or they don't use their mind to think through some things. And we look at everything directly right in front of us, yet we don't see. We don't see anything. We don't notice. So I ask the question again, where are all the trees? Where are the giant trees at? Now, this query demands a few furthering questions and a few ideas. And the simple ones, when we look around at trees and say, how old are these trees? And we can ask ourselves, why are these giant plains of land in the middle of the country? Why aren't there any trees there? Why are they just rolling hills of nothing, of literal flat land? And then there are some places that are, we have a few places. Now, interestingly enough, before we get into Silicon Valley and how close they are to the giant trees and getting into all of the other work that I've been doing. So, as usual, these things, you have to follow along. You can go into the other work that I've done and it will explore all of these ideas further, because I'm not spelling everything out for you in every video. It just would take too long. I would love to, but it would, again, these videos would all be 20 to 30 hours long for me to make all of the obvious connections. But if you've listened to my work, you'll understand what's going on here. And even if you just choose to use your own mind, because that's what I'm trying to get people to do here, think about it. Where are these trees? What happened to them? Why aren't there trees on this planet that are 20,000 years old? Why aren't there giant 50-million-year-old trees? If apparently, if you believe in this idea that we evolved from wherever, we're not even going back as far as the Big Bang and all this nonsense. But what we can say is that, okay, trees grow. We're not going to call that evolution here. We're going to say that's growth. Where are all these giant trees? What happened that they just happen to not exist? All the old trees that do exist, they're huge. They're monstrosities. They're a couple thousand years old, right? This is what they say. These big redwoods, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of feet high. Huge. Why aren't they everywhere all over this great plane of existence? All over the earth. Now, I can only say from reference to North America, from my mindset, because of the studies that I've done. Not that it doesn't take into account the rest of the world as well, because you can ask these same questions in other parts of the world too. But you can certainly see that there's these giant redwood trees on the west coast of America. Why aren't they everywhere? And even at that, I don't want to take it to the furthering question to say, well, if those are 2,000 years ago, what happened 2,000 years ago that those were brand new trees? Why were they planted 2,000 years ago? Or what were they seeded by? We're not going to go that far into the game right here. But for the rest of the country, where are all the trees? I can't help but repeat that question over and over again. And in the same way, we can look at things, and I can give you, because I like to do this in layers of questions that people, they just don't see it right in front of them. Like, we get on our lawnmower and we mow grass twice a week. For what? What a boneheaded, inane, bogus bullshit. Where did that come from? Grass has barely any, there's no reason for it. Why would anybody? It's a design. It's an architected design to have you doing something, some random task, a couple times a week. You have to buy gas for that lawnmower, buy the lawnmower, plant the seeds, which are weeds, by the way, that there's no benefit or use to. Why would anybody do that? Why are these suburban neighborhoods? Why do you need grass? Do you see the boneheadedness or somebody came up with this brilliant idea. It didn't do anything. It wasn't helpful. Where did this idea to plant grass come from, to mow the lawns, to do all this? What ridiculousness, right? Now I'm taking this to the other end of the spectrum by asking, like, look, we're sitting here planting seeds to grow grass to cut it down, Do you see the insanity of that? Like, literally mowing the lawn is the most insane thing you could ever do. Consider that. Could you think of a more ridiculous thing than anybody would do? Like, hey, you know what? I want to go put a bunch of stuff in the ground. We're going to call it grass. I'm going to put a bunch of stuff in the grass, and then I want to design a thing so I can drive around over it 2 to 3 times a week to cut it shorter. Yeah, why are you going to do that? I'm saying, why are you going to do that? Well, you see, but then I can sell this to people, and they'll have to mow their lawn too. Why would anybody want to mow their lawn? Why would anybody want that task on their plate on top of everything else they're doing? Do you see how crazy? That is literally the definition of insanity. If you have a lawn and you mow it, that's insane. There's no other way of putting it. And who likes that? Who wants to do that? Yet everybody does. Oh, so the guy that was inventing this or whatever, so everybody's like, no, you see, we could just put plants there that will grow, that we can harvest food from, and we could eat. We don't have to cut it down. We'll just let it grow, and then we'll eat it, and it will grow back. No. What we'll do is we'll get rid of all of the plants from in front of your house, and we'll put them in a field way over there, and then we'll truck them into a store, and then we'll make you buy them. Do you see how insane this is? Do you see how absolutely fucking insane it is? Let me take a breath here. Okay. Now, if you can't comprehend the insanity of that mockery of the human species, or however that got in place, that you don't even notice that, then you're not noticing anything else that's going on. Like, just from grass, I've explained to you how there are supermarkets and how you have to go to work to get money to pay for the food at the supermarkets that should be in your front yard. But instead of having just a front yard, maybe a bare front yard, no, now you actually have to pay someone or take some of your time to pay for gas to get a lawnmower. Do you see this? Now, this funnels into everything else you're ever sold and told. Now take this back to these trees. Where did the trees go? If you can't figure out something ridiculous is going on with the grass, then you can't even find yourself asking the question, how aren't there trees everywhere that are thousands of years old, that are giant, that are literally feeding? Like, we're not even getting into the feeding aspects of fruit trees. I'm not even getting into that. I'm not even saying like everyone's yard should have plants and fruit trees, like, obviously, but I'm asking, well, what about these giant trees? Where are they? What happened? Who cut them down? How did they get cut down? Now, there has to, all of these things that become stories or myths. And if you don't know, the word myth doesn't mean not true. But all of these things that become fiction might actually be the reality. I've read a lot of things that are in the nonfiction category of science that is actually wrong, ridiculous, and silly, that should be well far beyond nonfiction. And I read nonfiction, and I'm like, a lot of that I know to be true. See, it's all backwards. It's all absolutely crazy. So when we start to look into what's going on, where are these trees at? Why aren't they everywhere? And then I get into all of the other stories I've been telling about silicone and trees, and this goes into people's idea there are no trees on flat Earth. I'm not playing that little, that's a word game. I think it's a semantic syntax kind of game that people get, for clickbait. I mean, I'm glad people get to, kind of understanding the story. As I haven't even really done that much research on it, it just makes sense to me. I was like, oh, I don't need to go through that path. I I can uncover this myself. And in fact, by not looking at that information too much, it gives me an opportunity to come to my own conclusions, and I'll see if they line up with what they're saying. Rather than going, oh, okay, well, there's the information. Then I'm forced into, I'm pigeonholed into that kind of information. This lets me just go, oh, yeah, exactly. So the Silicon Valley and these giant trees. Now get into my other work that I've done over the past couple of weeks and start asking yourself questions about silicon. And I didn't put this video out. I'm gonna do it real soon. I got like 10 or 12 that I recorded. I just haven't put up. One is on the number 42, which is super crazy. 42. Yeah, it's imagine what if you take the number of protons, neutrons, and electrons. Imagine what number you get. Anyways, so man, there's so much going on here. Hold on one second, guys. Okay, so this tree thing, I don't want to just keep saying. I mean, I do. I kind of like saying, because I think it needs to be jammed into people's heads to ask yourself these questions. These are very simple things. I mean, we already get that the whole thing is a sham, like the whole kit and caboodle, the whole systematic thing, the what. But it's even further more insane than you can possibly unravel. That when we start to ask these larger questions, what could the answers be? They have to be something so far beyond reason, so far beyond what you would think is normal. It's like this: you're not a psychopath, you're not insane, you're not a crazy person, but somehow somewhere people become obsessed with power and do things that are completely beyond the capacity for you to even consider. Well, you can't consider it because A, you think, oh, that kind of craziness is only in the movies, or B, you've been so fluoridated that your mind doesn't even work to understand how somebody's mind could come up with that. There's a lot of things going on here, but to think, if you just start with the idea that somebody invented the lawnmower and the suburban neighborhoods and grass to be mowed, like that literally went through someone's head as a business plan, and how insane that is the truth of what's occurring on a grand scale of, I don't know what percentage, but it's a big percentage of people that live in suburbia. And then what's the crazier thing than that? Okay, oh, well, you live in the city. Well, you know what's crazy in the city? Oh, there's concrete everywhere. People put rubber bottoms on their feet, which disconnects them from the earth. You know, there are people that live in cities that, from childhood to adulthood, that literally will have never put their feet on bare ground. Think about that. That's a grand possibility for a very large number of people. I've known people that live in not even big cities, not even major cities, but just thinking about think about your regular day. If you've ever lived in a city, what do? You got your shoes on, you go to work, come home. You might take your shoes off, but you're in your yard. I mean, I know whenever most of the cities I've lived in, it was hard to find somewhere to take my shoes off, but right. So I take my shoes off in my house. Still haven't grounded myself out. I haven't touched the earth. The backyard is concrete. There's no grass. There's no reason to take my shoes off for 1 second there. I mean, for me, I know there is, but for anybody else, no. Okay, they go to the dog park. No one's taking their shoes off there, and nobody's stepping in dog shit. They go to the park. Most people, they're not even. At least they're gonna have their sandals on. They ain't even taking their sandals off, even if they're wearing sandals. And that's how far, right? Only people once in a while, maybe go to the beach. But then you got people that aren't taking those vacations. They're not getting to the beach. You got people that are poor that aren't doing that. And there's plenty of people that like live in the city. They're not getting out the hood. They're not getting out even suburbia. And to think that like even kids in the suburbia, they're not taking their shoes off too often. I mean, after a certain age, you're not taking your shoes off and grounding yourself out to the earth. So that's the other polar right there. That's the other polar insanity. You go from these ideas of living in the city, like thinking that there's some sort of sanity anywhere. There's not. It's built into the whole thing that there's some sort of giant, insane, mathematic, patriarchal principle of control that is overlaid over everything. Okay. Now, getting away from that, just going, okay, what are we going to do about it? How does this all work? Well, I think a lot of it is to consider these larger questions that we've been just delivered, silver platter, silver spoon to the mouth. Here's the information, accept it. Here's what's good for you. Here's how we do it. We're not. Where are the trees? I can't go through this whole country. What was it? What was it before 400 years ago? This even gets into the other things that, it's so hard to even bring up with anybody because nobody really wants to consider these ideas for themselves. Like if I were to go, well, I don't know, I've actually looked into, I question, the validity of how much of the Holocaust is, blasphemy, you can't say that, you can't even repeat it. I go, the slave thing that was going on? I don't know these slave ships don't look like they came over here. Where are they? Where are all these giant, how many millions of people? It's impossible. The math is impossible. And there's plenty of people that have written on how, people that were Native American, they were already here. The Native Americans don't look like what you see now. Those are fake Native Americans. When I say fake, I just mean like, okay, if you were born here, you're native to the land. But we're talking about like even a couple hundred years back. Like, the people here, like the black people were here. There's a very small number of people that came from Africa. We're talking about like very near islands that came here and people that were already here. They were already of a copper-colored skin tone. I'm not even going to see. There's been so much history that, like books that are just written on where did they come from? Whose history is this? What are they selling us? What don't we know? You can't verify anything. This gets into this whole thing. You can't verify any piece of information really past 100 years. There's no way to do it. Cameras didn't exist. You got no picture out. You can't take pictures. There's no pictures of anything before 1900. And even in the early 1900s, it's black and white, and it's so few and far between to come by. And then now let's see how many books, there was a book burning in the 1950s in America. You better get really familiar. You better understand about, there was a Leipzig convention where they changed the dictionaries for the English language in the 1930s or 40s. Like, you better get real familiar with what's going on here. Your language got changed. Our language got changed to, like, things that used to mean something else means something brand new. Oh, and they can do that, and they did it. And whoever they are, I don't know. This doesn't get into the, like, this is not like a blame game. We're just saying, like, hey, you don't even know what words you're saying. I've gone to this plenty of times. We don't know what we're saying. Now we're talking about like language. You don't know your history past your grandparents. You don't know where you came from. And now this is everybody. Now we're not even out of 1900. You're gonna tell me what happened in 1492 when C.C. Christopher Columbus, Christ offering of the column, which means dove. Oh right, yeah. Christopher Columbus, he sailed the ocean blue and this is what people repeat, and they think that, and they know that year 1492. What else happened then? What else is going on? Something interesting about like the size of trees and around that time. Something interesting. It might be more about large fires that were going on. Molten, I don't know. This is the thing is I don't know. I don't claim to know these exact answers, but I do without question. No, with very many questions, question the validity of every piece of information I've ever been given, and because I'm looking at the law and going, that's insane. I'm looking at why doesn't everybody I know? I'm looking at their houses. Why don't they have food in their front yard? Why aren't their kids playing in the front yard, learning how to make food? Why are they going to the grocery store? It's inconceivable for these people to even consider this. Where are the fruit trees? Where are the, this is Why are you mowing a lawn? These are insane things to me, but yet people just take them as, no, this is just the way it is, and accept it. And I'm like, well, we got to backtrack this whole thing. We don't even know what's going on before 1800. You tell me about 1800. You tell me all these books. You need to show me all these books. Oh yeah, somebody did the research. You know how many these things, you can't qualify any of these authors as being nonfiction or fiction writers. How do you know? Let's get into the year. You know, I was talking about this before. When did the printing press come around? We better start to think about what the printing press is. Who owned the printing press? Not the poor people, the rich people. What did they want to get out there? The information to keep them in power. It was the form of the media, which comes from the Medes, the MEDES. Go look up that word. Go see where they came from in Egypt. Find the connection between Egypt, the holy wood, the holy tree, and Hollywood here, and why it's on the 33rd degree parallel. And if you go 180, you go all the way to the other side of the round earth, or if you just take that parallel over there, you'll find a very obvious connection. And now all of a sudden, why is that where it is in the Americas? Right along Silicon Valley, right along San Andreas Fault. What does that got to do with anything? Now, all of these big questions go, man, there's a lot more happening here. There's a lot more going on. Considering I'm like, what? Let me try this question again. I don't know if anybody heard me. Where are the giant trees? And then we can go, okay, what do we know about trees? You know where you buy all your goods and services from? All your goods from? You get online, you go to the Amazon. Oh, what about the Amazon forest? Where do all doctors go? What do they do? Where do they go find drugs? Yeah, they send people into the Amazon. They send people into the rainforest. They send people into all of these old world places with all of this giant biosphere, this whole system of plant life that has all of the medicine, all of the trees, all of the plants have the medicine that heal everything, and they take it and they pull it apart and they extract one thing and then they turn it into an inorganic salt and they put a patent on it and they say this is $1,000 for this. When all of a sudden there was that tree that was just sitting there like, no, actually if you just take the bark and brew the bark, you'll get not only that substance but all of the other substances that are supposed to be running in line with that to keep you from getting sick or having any of the problems, except that you can't patent nature. And that tree branch would probably cost next to nothing, yet this pill cost $1,000. No. So where are all these old trees? They cut them down because it was the medicine? They cut it down because it's the food? They cut down the food, the medicine. They poisoned all the water. And this whole thing where I say I can't. And this is where I can't listen to people go, it was the Jews, it was the aliens, it was the Freemasons, it was the Zionists. Oh, listen, I've played those games. I've been doing this research for a lot longer than most people here. Okay, I've been this is full time for me for almost 20 years now. So don't think I haven't went through those hoops and things. But once you get through all those, you go, man, I can't blame it on any of those groups. You know why? Because they're so full of good and bad people, indifferent people. They're so full of so many different things. You can take their teachings and turn it any way you want. You can take a knife and cut a bread or stab your mother in the face with it. I mean, that's just the way it is with information, just the way it is with these organizations. And I'm not saying there isn't something real effed up going on within some aspects of masonry. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with the church, because the church is royally fucked. You know, I'm not saying that, you know, I'm putting everything on blast, the whole world. But at the same time, like, it's the same thing, like, man, who knows? Where did all of this information get so completely just, ugh? And what are we left with? We're left with something that looks like a system that, where did the medicine go? Where did the food go? Why is the water poisoned? We can legitimately say there's no reason to be sticking needles in children. We can legitimately say there's no reason to be putting fluoride in the water. We can legitimately say that food shouldn't be genetically modified. We can, all of these things are very, like, obvious. And these are all from people that believe in evolution. If evolution was occurring to make things better, then get your hands off of it. because you don't know what you're doing. If evolution has brought us to the highest point of whatever we are as the species, well, then get your hands off the ship, because obviously it was working just fine. But all in all, like, it still comes down to this concept. You look around, you go, what happened to the nature? What happened to the this is me doing the same thing I always put in all of these little videos. I go, there's nothing wrong with cities. There's nothing wrong with cars. There's nothing wrong with all of these other things that people like go, oh, these are the computers, the devil, the radio's the devil, the television's the devil. Like, no, none of these things are. It's all made of the same atomic structure. It just happens that some things are in the wrong place at the wrong time in the wrong environment, used to the wrong degrees under the wrong methodologies and the wrong, it's not perfected. In fact, it's actually succubusing off of something. Something's broken in this system, that we have these giant buildings made out of concrete and rebar, and instead of making that out of organic elements that would actually heal the planet. Like, well, I don't know. I don't know how that happens, but we can see that, like, the water's all towed up. the trees. Where are the trees? I know when I sit on my bicycle, my nuts don't like it. I'm like, why? Why is that like that? I go and design a seat, and everybody, nah, that shit's, no. We already got seats. Why do you get flat tires? Here, let me give you a couple more examples, just because it's fun for me. You know how many people have designed tires that don't pop and won't go flat? And you know how easy it is to do? It's so simple, and it's already been done. It's already patented. But they don't want that. Why? Because then there's no more tires to sell. They have to sell less tires, because then there's less wreckages. There's money. This is the movie The Fifth Element. There's money in chaos. There's power, and there's order out of it, because they create the chaos. You create a tire. You know how to create a tire without it popping? You put little pieces of rubber that go from the wheel, from the rim to the to the tire, just right there. Every couple inches, another piece of rubber. You never have to put any air in it. It's already been designed. It's already out there. But why aren't they in every car? No more less car accidents and no filling up. You don't got to worry about gas. You don't have to worry about filling it up. Oh, what about brakes? Brakes were already invented that you don't have to ever repair. That you never have to buy new brakes, and they'll never fail. It's already been designed. It's already in practice right now today. You go to the theme park, when you get on a roller coaster. Do you know why roller coasters are so safe? And they're not going to because they designed them not to break. Why? Because they wanted you to come back to the theme park. And if their shit broke, you would never come back. People are like, oh, we ain't going on a roller coaster. That thing broke. All these people flew off. It doesn't happen because they're using technology that won't let it happen. What is it? Electromagnetic technology for the brakes. There's no moving parts. It just pulses itself electromagnetically and stops the moving thing. You put that right on your brakes in your car. Same thing. No moving parts. Nothing touches. Boom. Done. Never have to worry about your brakes going bad. Simple. Now there's nothing to be. You don't have to make any more. Why is there planned obsolescence? Why is everybody buying a new iPhone 10? How effing ridiculous. We can't let the best thing out. Let's build up to that. There'll be 4 generations until we get to the best one. Yeah, but we already know how to build the best one. Yeah, but we'll take a little longer to get there. That's exactly what it's done. Everything is planned obsolescence, and they already know how to fix these things. They patent and they don't let it happen. That's what's happening. Now, that's from a level of design. That's from a level of architecture. But I'm talking about, like, let's go back. Well, what about the level of just like, this is all common heritage to everyone here, that this is everyone's land. We're all native to the lands. Whatever land you're on, that's yours. I mean, you're supposed to be, part of it. Yet somehow these trees are gone with all of our food and our water's all like. I didn't want this to turn into a rant, but I guess it did a little bit. The initial part was me just to try to give people more of a way of thinking and taking your own thoughts into going, okay, when you look at something, break it down into like, where did this come from? And maybe it's because I came from the background I did, and always designing things, building, architecting. Whenever I learned how to cook and how I went about that, and rehabbing houses and building a house, and how I could look at, the bones of a house and go, oh, this is the way we can turn this into something magical, because I could see how it got to where it is, backtrack through the whole thing, and take the future and put it into a house. And whenever I look at something from a design aspect, I think of it the same way, a designed life and future. And then whenever I'm looking at things that don't work right, meaning literally the whole system right now. I mean, okay, the system works correct. Don't anybody get these words twisted. The education system works perfectly for what it's designed for. The system works perfectly. Don't anybody get it confused. Don't anybody twist my words around, because I'll tell you right now, you look at all of these things going on everything is working the way it should be. Not the way that it's healthy or best, or for convenience, or community, or growth, or opportunity, or it's not built for that. Nobody wanted it that way. There's plenty of people that come in, we can do this better. No, you can't. You can't do it better than what it's doing now. What it's doing now is doing exactly what it should, perfectly. So back to using your mind and thinking about this. What's up with these trees, though? I'm gonna leave it here, because I'm just a little tangent about these trees. I'll listen to this, and I'll see if I can't zoom back in my mind to what I really was trying to get at here. I think I covered most of it. I was actually making some tea, and I kind of left my tea in the kitchen, and I think maybe that's what it is. I was just kind of trying to hurry through this, and now it's already it's cold, so I gotta go make myself another tea, and then I'll come back to this. But I hope you guys enjoyed the little rant, and it helps you to ask yourself a few further questions of our own history and heritage, and where we came from, and what's going on with these trees. Talk soon, y'all.